All right, folks, so I have some good news and some bad news. The bad news is this is our last Football Friday until September. But the good news is we are just 2 sleeps away from the Super Bowl. After 18 weeks of regular season football, 3 weeks of postseason football, 2 weeks to prepare for this matchup, and me going a whopping 68, 67, and 1 in my picks against the spread this year, it all comes down to this. Super Bowl 60. We've got the Seattle Seahawks taking on the New England Patriots. Rematch of Super Bowl 49. Seahawks are 4.5 point favorites in this matchup. And of course, looking at the storylines from the Seahawks perspective, of course, the biggest story going into this Super Bowl is Sam Darnold. Sam Darnold's been in the league for 7 years now. He was drafted by the Jets out of USC, and the Jets are one of those places where quarterback careers go to die. I mean, Sam Darnold's first ever NFL pass was a pick six against the Lions on a Monday night. And then after 3 years, he gets run out of New York, shipped to Carolina where things weren't much better for him. And then 2 years later, he got sent to San Francisco as a backup who only played in a Week 18 throwaway game after the Niners had already clinched the 1 seed that year. And then he goes to Minnesota. J.J. McCarthy tears his meniscus in the offseason, didn't play a down of football last year, so it's the Sam Darnold show. We didn't know how things were going to go, and the only thing that Sam Darnold did in Minnesota was win 14 games and set career highs in passing yards and touchdowns. And then as the story goes, the Vikings are in a position to get the 1 seed in the NFC, and then they got destroyed by Detroit that Sunday night, and then they go on the road and ultimately get destroyed by the Rams in the wild card, and Darnold didn't play well in either of those games. And then comes Seattle. And when you looked at Seattle this year, it was believed that the Seahawks were going to be in a rebuild. I mean, they showed Geno Smith and DK Metcalf the door this past offseason. And I don't know too many people who thought Seattle was going to be this good and lock up the 1 seed in the NFC. And as a matter of fact, when I made my season predictions on the Tuesday after Labor Day, I picked the Seahawks to finish last in the division. I didn't think they were going to be terrible, but a division as tough as the NFC West was, I mean, I figured they would be at least competitive, like a 9-8 at best, 7-10 at worst kind of team. But ultimately, they turned out to be the best in the division. And after how things ended in Minnesota, I did not think that Sam Darnold was going to replicate the same success that he had with the Vikings, mainly because he had Justin Jefferson and Jordan Addison to throw the ball to. But he did, with Jackson Smith and Jigba, the reigning offensive player of the year, Rashid Shaheed, that speedster. Seattle as well has an incredible defense, arguably their best defense since the Legion of Boom. They got the bye. They destroyed a Niners team that was busted up by injuries and just squeaked by the Rams, who have had Sam Darnold's number for years prior to Week 16 of this past year. And now, not only are the Seahawks in the Super Bowl, they're actually the favorites to win the Super Bowl. What a turnaround for the Seahawks over the last few years, and what a job by John Schneider becoming the first GM to go to the Super Bowl twice with the same franchise, but with completely different rosters, without any players remaining from the previous Super Bowl run. And also an incredible coaching job by Mike Macdonald in his second year. And what a redemption story it would be for Sam Darnold if he goes out and wins this whole thing. And looking at this thing from the Patriots side, it's definitely one of the great worst to first stories this year in the NFL. I mean, last year, Bill Belichick retired and tabbed Gerard Mayo, the successor, and the Patriots went 4-13. They looked awful, and Mayo didn't know what the heck he was doing. And then comes Mike Vrabel, just a couple of years removed from being unceremoniously fired from the Titans for no reason whatsoever, just a couple years removed from taking the Titans to the AFC title game. And if we're being honest, he should have been hired from the jump when the Patriots position became open, but he comes in and all of a sudden they flip their record in just 1 year from 4-13 to 13-4, and they win the AFC East. And then you have Drake May in his second season in the NFL. And to be fully honest, I was not too high on Drake May coming out of the draft last year, especially with how things ended in North Carolina. And I mean, going back to 2022, Drake May was a Heisman candidate. And then North Carolina, they just collapsed in the second half of the year, and then he gets drafted in 2024 with the number 3 overall pick, and Drake May was one of the bright lights in a dark season for the Patriots. I mean, it left you feeling at the end of the year that the Patriots had found their quarterback of the future. Then comes Josh McDaniels into the mix. He becomes, once again, the Patriots offensive coordinator, and Drake May ends up an MVP candidate and finalist, but ultimately lost by just 1 first-place vote, and I think 5 votes overall, to Matthew Stafford. And now he has a chance to become the youngest starting quarterback to ever win a Super Bowl. And looking at the Patriots as a whole, we always point to them having that paper soft 4th place schedule, having the easiest strength of schedule coming into the Super Bowl since the 1999 Rams, aka the greatest show on turf. And then they get into the postseason. They play playoff Justin Herbert, who had a bad case of turnover-itis. And then the Texans with C.J. Stroud with an even worse case of turnover-itis, and then they take on Jared Stidham in a freaking blizzard. But one thing about them, they went up against 3 of the best defenses in football throughout their postseason run. Now, granted, Drake May has not yet had a good game through the air. But I think you can also make a case that he didn't necessarily need to be spectacular through the air with how those games turned out. And along with that, the Patriots defense has been really, really good throughout this postseason run. They have really impressed me. And I think you can make a case as well that this run has been fueled more by their defense than their offense. I mean, yes, the Patriots have been getting a lot of breaks this year, but you definitely have to tip your hat to them. I did not expect this Patriots team to go on this kind of run, let alone win the AFC East. But you definitely have to credit Vrabel and this squad for taking this franchise to an NFL record 12th Super Bowl, currently tied with the Pittsburgh Steelers for the most Super Bowl titles with 6. And then the Patriots, of course, with a win, will stand alone with 7 Super Bowl titles in franchise history, but they'll have to do it as an underdog in this matchup. And looking at this matchup as a whole, when you look at this matchup on paper, this feels like a mismatch. You can't help but feel that Seattle is coming into this matchup as the better team. Their offense is better, their receiver corps are better, their defense is better, and even their special teams are better, especially with that speedster Rashid Shaheed, who the Seahawks acquired in the middle of the season. And listen, Seattle is a team that has gotten hot at the right time. Sam Darnold is playing by far the best ball of his career. And I feel like if Sam Darnold has an average to above average game, the Seahawks win. All Darnold needs to do is just take care of the ball and let everyone else handle their job, and they win this game. And I also feel like JSN and or Rashid Shaheed are going to have big breakout games on Sunday. And I feel like every Super Bowl just has that breakout player who has the game of his life. And I feel like it's going to be one of those two. And listen, I'm really hoping that this game is not a blowout. We just had a Super Bowl blowout last year with the Eagles destroying the Chiefs. And listen, the way I see the Patriots winning this game is if Sam Darnold opens up McDonald's, acts like he's with the Jets and sees a whole bunch of ghosts, and he falls with a case of the turnoveritis. I've been having this game somewhere in between 38-17 and 27-20. But I think I'm going to meet this thing halfway. I say that this is going to be a game for about the first half, for the first three quarters, but I say the Seahawks ultimately pull away late and win this game by 2 scores. I say 27-17, Seahawks win, they cover the 4.5, they will be your Super Bowl 60 champions, and Sam Darnold will be your Super Bowl MVP. So what are your predictions? Who do you think wins the Super Bowl? The Seahawks or the Patriots? Let me know down below. Like, comment, subscribe. Click that notification button to be notified of when I post again. And also follow me on Twitter and on Bluesky at CW Talk Sports. That's CWTALKS Sports. Enjoy the Super Bowl, everyone, and I will see y'all the next time. Peace.